Hey everyone, I'm Billy Price. I am one of the two co-founders of Billy Footwear, and this is another episode of Open Book. And for those that are unfamiliar with Open Book, let me start by saying I love Open Book. Open Book gives us the opportunity to share a little bit about our brand, about our story, because we ourselves are an open book, and our shoes open up like a book. You step in to your story. But one thing I really love about Open Book is when we're able to have guests on the show and we get to share about the collaboration as well as their story. So today, I'm super excited, super honored. We have Tim. Tim is the Director of Strategic Development at Empower SCI, meaning Empower Spinal Cord Injury. So welcome to the program, Tim.
Great. Thank you, Billy. Honored to be here.
So I myself have a spinal cord injury, and I am super jazzed to learn more about what you got going. So I think a great place for us to start, could you just tell us about Empower SCI?
Yeah, absolutely. So Empower SCI is a nonprofit. We are focused on helping people with spinal cord injuries go from surviving to thriving in life. So our mission is really to help people propel people forward on their path toward a more meaningful, actualized life. And we do that through immersive programming and community support. Think physical therapy, occupational therapy, adaptive sports, rec therapy, rehab counseling, all rolled up together in a really holistic, immersive experience, and that can be anywhere from a day to 2 weeks. So we help people get out there and live their best life with spinal cord injuries, and it's an amazing organization.
So how long have you been around?
So I've been on the team officially for a year at Empower. However, I was a participant in the first ever Empower program in the summer of 2012, which was a year and a half after my accident. When I was at my low point after my accident, I was really emotionally, psychologically struggling. And one of the co-founders, Carrie Callahan, called me, told me about the program. I showed up. I had this incredible week where I felt like people really saw me for me, and I felt like it was one of the first times when I saw the possibility of living a full, meaningful life with disability, with a spinal cord injury. And it kind of set me on the trajectory of where I am today. So I went off and did my own thing for a decade after that. And then I was given the incredible opportunity to join the team full-time a year ago.
Wow. So when did Empower SCI first start? Was that in 2012?
So the organization was founded in 2011. The first program was in July 2012, the one that I attended.
Okay. And then what year did you get injured?
2011, February.
Okay.
2011.
Wow.
Yeah.
So right about the same time.
Yep. Pretty incredible. Yeah.
So, man. Okay. So can I ask how you got hurt?
Yeah, of course. Appreciate you asking it that way. I was living in Colorado, in Aspen and Snowmass, Colorado. I was working as a ski patroller at Snowmass Mountain. And it was my third winter living in Colorado. And at the end of the day, February 13th, 2011, I was clearing the mountain. So we all would pick a trail, we'd ski it after the trail lifts shut down for the day, just to make sure no one was left behind. And I fell. I don't remember it. I have no recollection of what happened. But when I didn't make it back to the locker room, my fellow ski patrollers, my coworkers, realized that pretty quickly, went out and found me and got me off the mountain, life flighted from there to Denver, spinal fusion that night, and then a couple of weeks in the ICU and 3.5 months at Craig Hospital. And that's kind of how it all began.
So what did you, so I have a spinal cord injury as well. So I don't know if our function levels are similar. I mean, I broke my C5-6 and my L1. So where does that kind of line up with you?
Yeah, I'm C4, C5.
Okay.
C4, C5, a little bit incomplete, but I think I present like a C4 injury. Quadriplegic, I push around in a manual chair. I can move my arms, have biceps, but no triceps. Very little wrist function.
Okay.
Yeah.
So wrist wise, I mean, is it this one? Okay. Got it.
No flexion. I wear wrist
got it.
to support my hands and wrists. Yeah.
But you still use a manual chair.
I do. I use a manual chair. I have power assist wheels, eMotion power assist wheels. So those help me a lot. I would have a tough time without them, but yeah, I use those, and I like to be able to, I feel fortunate that I can move my arms, and I like to be moving my body and propelling myself as much as I can. So I got the eMotion wheels about 9 months after my accident, and sort of slowly transitioned into them out of the power chair over the course of a few months, and have been in it ever since. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you talk about when you first got connected with Empower SCI? I mean, when I looked at it, I mean, so looking at the website, and I'll share the website in a moment, it's just, there's just a lot of great things that are happening that are getting out and about. But I'm also thinking that there's going to be a lot of just conversation just amongst members and participants to be able to understand where you're at mentally as well. Is that true?
Yeah, that was the most impactful aspect of my Empower experience. As I said, it was 18 months roughly after my accident. It was my lowest point. And to be part of the Empower program is rehab counseling, which is led by a woman named Dr. Gabby Fici. She has cerebral palsy. She's an incredible rehab counselor and therapist. And we have closed door sessions with just her and the participants. And for me to be in a space where I was surrounded by other people with disabilities, all similar, injury to myself, to be able to share my thoughts and ask questions and, really be vulnerable and open with that group was incredible. And that, just to share some of the things that I was struggling with, and to have people say, I get it, and you're not alone in thinking that. That was very, very powerful. And there are many wonderful things about Empower, but I think if you ask participants, they will say that is one of the, the most sort of formative elements of the experience for them.
Boy, I mean, you're taking me down memory lane here. I mean,
yeah.
So I broke my neck before you. I broke my neck in 1996.
Wow.
And at that time there really weren't groups like what you're talking about. And if there were groups, it was very difficult to find out about them, because I mean, the internet wasn't really what it was. I mean, obviously it wasn't what it is like it was today, or even in 2011 or 12.
Right.
And I mean, I was 18 years old. I was a fiercely independent kid.
Mm-hmm.
And to go from that to the complete opposite, being 100% dependent, it wasn't my plan. And my mind really went to a dark place. And I continue to ask myself that unanswerable question of why me? And just really trying to convince myself that it wasn't worth living if you couldn't walk. So when you're there, it's hard to snap out of that. And I just really, thank God that there were people around me that it wasn't like they fixed me, but they created this encouraging culture that empowered me to make the choice to change. And you get into those group settings, and it's not like a little kumbaya session. I mean, it's you get raw. It's just raw and emotional, and just you just expressing anger. And I mean, I got to kind of check myself here, or otherwise I'll just really go back there and, get emotional. But I'm just so incredibly thankful for those sessions and those moments, because without them, I can't imagine where I would be.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, everything you said resonates with me. I did not think life was worth living if I were not able-bodied once again. And and it took me still a few more years after I went to Empower to fully, I would say acceptance actually is like a never-ending journey, honestly. But it still took me a few years to get to the place where I could even consider, like, I'm going to not put all of my effort into trying to be able-bodied again, so yeah. And I can only imagine what it was like back in the 90s and prior to that. I have mixed feelings about social media and the internet in some ways, but I know a lot of us in the disability community feel like it has been a godsend in the way that it allows us to connect with one another and find community. And it's hugely powerful in that way. So but I mean, it looks like you're crushing it. You got you're CEO of an awesome footwear company, and almost 30 years out. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I mean, as you well know, it doesn't happen overnight. It's inch by inch by inch, but you start compounding that stuff, and it's amazing how far you can get.
Absolutely.
And it's definitely a team effort. That's for sure.
That is very true. Very true. Yeah, you got to have. It takes a village.
It does. Yeah. So I'm curious. What does daily life look for you?
Oh, great question. So most weekdays I try to get up 5:30, 6 a.m. Takes me about 2 hours to get through my full morning routine. I will, after that, then either exercise, whether it's at home on my FBS bike, or on Thursdays going to a spinal cord injury exercise rehab center. Then after that, I'll get to work for Empower. And then, days I'm not exercising in the morning, it's right to work. Put a good work day in. And then in the evenings, I'll work on my podcast, The Unexpected Journey, or I live in Boston, so I'll go out and meet friends, whether go to a Bruins game or, go and meet friends at a bar or go on a date, whatever it may be. And then on the weekends and on weeknights or week mornings when I can swing it with my schedule, I like to sail and surf. So, if there are waves, I'm trying to get in the ocean. And then I live right by Boston Harbor. There's a great community sailing center near me that has an awesome adaptive program. So, summer evenings, I'm getting out there racing or just going cruising. And then on the weekends, going for longer sails. And then in the winter, skiing too. So I'd say that's kind of like, that's typical day to day. So, yeah.
That is quite the rap sheet. That is absolutely amazing. So there's a couple things I want to touch on there. And I did promise I'll share all the website and stuff like that. I'll get that in just a moment. But so talk to me about surfing. Like, what does that look like? Because I think you were a surfer in your former life. I mean, what does surfing look like now?
Yeah, I grew up surfing in Massachusetts starting when I was 9 or 10 with my dad. Became a huge part of my life. One of my, my biggest passion, I would say, shook me out to California, and I loved to travel to surf. And then, that was one of the hardest things after my accident. I was like, I'm not a surfer anymore. I can't paddle out and stand up on a wave. So to the point where I wouldn't even wear like surf hats or t-shirts, because even though I had tons of them in my wardrobe, I was like, I'm a poser if I'm wearing these. And a couple months after I went to Empower, actually, some really good friends who own a surf shop up in New Hampshire, they reached out to my dad and they said, we got to get Kim back in the water. And so it was November 2012, got in the water, big crew there to help. It was freezing. It was not that much fun for me, but I was back in the ocean, and feeling the salt water was great. And it was just enough that I wanted to do it again. And with each time and now with each year, it just gets better and better. But yes, what it looks like. So I surf in a prone position. So I have boards that I work with surfboard shapers to customize them, and I have elbow supports. So I lie on the board. I have kind of like rigid supports to prop my elbows up against them. It keeps my head and my chest, my shoulders up off the board. I have great friends and family members and members of the surf community who help me get out into the lineup. And then I'll sit out there with one or two people, pick my wave. They'll spin the board around, give me a push. When I'm on the wave, I'm surfing it on my own, just leaning left and right to maneuver the board. And then we have the crew inside, because I do fall. And if I do fall, I wear a flotation vest, a sort of compact, streamlined flotation vest, and they'll get me back on the board and get back out. So that's what it looks like.
Oh my gosh, Tim, that is so cool. I mean, that surfing is something I have not tried. I remember trying to try it as an able body, and I would get up and I was under the impression like to catch a wave, you just had to get bigger waves, and man, they would just eat me up. And it was all about technique. I didn't have it, and that just you were just like, I was vicariously living like through your story right there. That just sounds so fun.
You gotta try it. I mean, adaptive surfing is taking off. Honestly, it's really blowing up. It's a really cool community. There are a lot of people who are quadriplegic who are, you may know Jesse Billauer, but I mean, he's kind of the godfather, but there's a whole generation behind him. And yeah, you should give it a try, because it is super fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
So talk to me about snow skiing. What equipment do you use?
Yeah, I use a bi-ski enabling technology, Dynamique. So it's a bucket like with any sit ski, and it has two skis underneath it. It kind of looks like a snowboard split in half, much shorter than a regular snowboard. I use the outriggers, the handheld outriggers that have the little mini skis on the end. And the way I do it is I have one of my friends bucketing on the back, meaning that there's a big handle that comes off the back of my ski, kind of behind where I'm sitting. They will grab onto that, and then it's like we're kind of tandem skiing. So, I'm maneuvering the ski as much as I can, but I don't have a ton of core support. And since I don't have triceps, I can't really like push off enough to keep myself really stable. So took about, 7 or 8 years to get that dialed in, but pandemic kind of forced it, because I couldn't go to any of the adaptive programs because of quarantining and all that. So my buddies and I were just like, all right, got to figure it out. And it's working well. We have a lot of fun. So that's how I ski.
Wow. Yeah. So more specific question, how do you hold on to your outriggers?
I use active hands. So the neoprene gloves that strap around your wrist, and then they strap over your fingers. So they put my hands in a secure position as if I were just gripping the handle on the outriggers. Okay. I use those a lot for any kind of sports or exercise where I need to have grip function.
So are you putting your hand into a 5-finger glove or more of a mitten, or how does that work? A mitten. Okay.
It's a process. Yeah. It takes a few minutes, but yeah, I do it in a mitten. That's just mainly for warmth.
Wow. So, I mean, I'm going to let you in on a secret. So before Billy Footwear started, we ran a Kickstarter campaign. Like the original seed funding for Billy Footwear was a Kickstarter campaign after an adaptive ski glove, because I use a mountain men's sit ski. And because you said you used the Bi-Unique, is that what it was, or something?
The Dynamique. The
Dynamique. Okay.
Yeah, close relative.
Okay.
To Bi-Unique.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I was using the Mountain Man, but I'd hold on to those outriggers. But I just don't have, similar to what you're talking about, I don't have the hand dexterity to hold it. Right. So what we did was we made this glove that essentially your fingers are going around a PVC pipe, and that PVC pipe goes over the peg. And then there's a whole harness that holds your arm onto the outrigger, and then a sleeve that goes over to protect the Velcro from getting covered in snow. So I would love to send you a pair of those gloves, because we still have a few of them around. for you to give them a
Love to give
try.
them a try. That'd be amazing. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Because those gloves are just looking to have we have extras, and it's just like we moved on from it. And I have my own pair of gloves, so we'd love to be able to find a home for them. So I'd love to send you a pair.
Yeah. I won't go too long on this, but I think initially especially with skiing and surfing, it was really tough to do them because there's this comparison to what it was like before my accident. I was pretty confident in both those sports because I did them a lot. And it always felt like, oh, this is fun, but it's not like it was. But as I've come to just appreciate it as kind of a new, different experience with some similar sensations and all that, but just kind of approach it differently, or the different mindset, figuring out the equipment has been really fun. It's initially frustrating, but once you, I think, can just like appreciate the creativity and the exploration and all that comes with adapting, it's great. And then when you figure it out, you have like a breakthrough. It makes the whole experience that much more rewarding. So, yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more.
Yeah.
Okay, so I promised to you and the whole audience here that I'd be sharing some of these links. So let me start off. Let me do the website first. So everyone that's listening in or watching this, the website, it's empowersci.org. So let me spell this out for those that are listening in. EMPOWERSCI.org. So that's the website. When it comes to social, very similar, but it's Empower Spinal Cord Injury. So let me spell this out. EMPOWERSPINALCORDINJURY. So that's both Instagram and Facebook. And then lastly, I wanted to share was, Tim, your podcast. So Unexpected Journey Pod. So tell me about Unexpected Journey Pod.
Yeah. So the Unexpected Journey, it's a podcast interviewing folks with disabilities. So they have a platform, so we have a platform to share our story in our words. I was working at a renewable energy company before I started at Empower, and was looking for a way to get more engaged with our community and sort of a creative outlet. And some friends suggested I start a podcast. And so we're in season 4 now. Started in 2000 or launched in 2021. And I mostly interview other folks with spinal cord injuries, but other physical disabilities as well. Also some family members of people with disabilities. A lot of adaptive athletes, but also entrepreneurs, artists, really just, again, giving folks the opportunity to tell their story, and for us to connect as a community, and to humanize the disability experience, because I think, there's a lot, people feel discomfort and pity and shame and all that around spinal cord injury and disability, and it doesn't need to be that way. And so I think, just having conversations and sharing our experiences, as you're doing in an incredible way here with, with your platform, is one of the best ways for us to all be able to relate to one another.
Yeah, I think it's important to share. It really is. Because the more we share, the more conversations are generated. And the word I really love to use is community. It really just really fosters an amazing community.
Couldn't agree more.
So, Tim, I want to be respectful of your time, but I do have one more question. I mean, with all this stuff going on, it sounds like Empower SCI. You're in the Boston area. What is the bigger picture? Like when you look down that, because your title, you're in like strategic development here. So, like, what is the big picture? What kind of goals do you have for the future?
Yeah, we really want to grow. We have had a really big impact on a great group of folks with spinal cord injuries. We have these intensive programs that really change people's lives, but we want to expand. We want more people with spinal cord injuries to be able to, have the resources, have the community, like you said. Community is so important, to be able to live an awesome life, and to know that, yes, spinal cord injury is challenging. There's no two ways about that, but it is not the end. It can be just the beginning. And so we want as many people to have the opportunity to go out and live their best life as possible. And that's what we're looking to accomplish.
Mm. So it reminds me of like when I was sharing earlier, the why me question, the unanswerable why me question.
Mm-hmm.
And I know like when I was asking that question, one of the things that helped me was I added one additional word, and the word was not. So instead of why me, it was why not me.
I love that.
Yeah, because it becomes an empowering question.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, thanks for sharing that. It's never occurred to me. That's really profound.
Well, everyone else who was listening in, this was an awesome conversation. Tim, this is just fantastic. Let me put up some information again, just so everybody sees it. So again, website, empowersci.org. On social, it's Empower Spinal Cord Injury. And then check out the podcast as well. So podcast, the Instagram handle is Unexpected Journey Pod. So UNEXPECTECTDE. Oh my gosh, let me try this again. Chip my own tongue here. So UNEXPECTEDJOURNEYPOD. So Unexpected Journey Pod.
Nailed it.
Tim, this is fantastic.
Thank you, Billy. This is a great conversation. Thanks so much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
So everyone else out there, this was another episode of Open Book. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll have another one again real soon. So until then, take care.